Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Otumba Adam Show. My name is Adam Tuluwafemi Olajide, and you guys are welcome to the 134th episode. This is the 134th episode, and I am glad to have you guys here. How have you guys been? How's the week? How is work? How is life? How is everything? I hope you guys are acing it. It is Saturday in Nigeria. As I always say, it is an Owambe weekend where people go for parties and they bakurumo and da. All right, so if you're new to the show, we'll talk about entrepreneurship, we'll talk about freelancing, we'll talk about how to become better in your business. Simple. All right, that's what we'll talk about. And if you're there, you'd like to introduce yourself, please put your name, your location in the comment section. That is if you are live right now. But if you're not, you can just chip in something over time, all right? And I would comment on your comment, right? I would respond to your comment. So on today's episode, we're talking about how to get your next big idea, like something huge. All right. I know that like a lot of us want when we want to like enter into business, or probably like we've been into business for a while and we're thinking that like, okay, how can I get something extraordinary, something that like not everybody's actually looking at, right? How can I get the next big thing? Okay, although you really may not be able to get the next big thing, but how can you actually achieve that thing that would 10x your business, or like would help you grow, basically? All right, so that's what I'll be looking at today. All right, so the first point I have on my list, okay, if you want to be able to have the next big thing, is you need to be as creative as a child. You need to be as creative as a child. Now, one of the things that like I realized is that like the more you grow, the more the inhibitions that like you place, or that society places in your life, that life places in your life, and then like you start to second guess yourself, because you would always be logical about things. You would always think that like it cannot be done. There's going to be this stumbling block or that stumbling block. But if you were to think like a child, the beauty about the mind of a child is that like they always believe that they can do it, even if they cannot, even if they are not able to like really achieve that thing. But they have this thing in their at the back of their head that like, if that person can do it, then I also can do it. And if you can think like a child, you can then hone your creative side. All right. Because I could remember growing up, my dad used to tell us stories. And while he's saying these stories, right, I could actually imagine those things that he was saying, like probably like he's talking about the turtle and the dog, right? I don't know if a lot of you guys remember that story where I think the turtle was singing a song and all that, and I could actually imagine it. Now, as we grow older, we realize that like our creativity tends to deaden, right? And you need to reawaken that creative part of you. It is very necessary. Now, one of the ways that like I feel you could actually like reawaken that creative part of you is by thinking like a child, seeing the world the way a child would see the world. Some of the things that could probably like trigger it is if you can remember that thing that you did as a child, right? That helped you to feel this sense of freedom, right? For some, it could probably be playing in the rain, all right? I know it's actually kind of like crazy, but really, it could be like, okay, maybe like you enjoyed that period of your life when you could actually like be as free as possible playing in the rain. It could be for you that like it is when you read a storybook, a children's storybook, or probably like when you watch an animation or a cartoon that like triggers that childhood memory. Anything that can actually help you to like trigger that childhood memory, try to get it. And it would help you to see the world the way a child actually sees the world. You remember how you were as a child, and before you know it, that creative juice in you will start to flow out. Okay, so that's the first part on the list. The second part I have is find a serene environment, find a place that like is quiet for you. Now, one of the ways you could actually do that, because I know that like a lot of us are staying in an urban region, except for myself that stays at the outskirts of this particular state I'm in, the state capital that I'm in, right? I live in one facet that like I would hear as little noise as possible. But if you are in a particular location whereby like there's noise and everything else, try as much as possible to find a quiet spot. Now, one of the ways you could find a quiet place is by you going to a place where what's the word, probably like traveling to a new location. All right, you could probably pay for a hotel or just find a place that like you know that there's no noise, there's nothing of such nature, and then you would be able to have a calm mind, right? Because one of the things I realize about noise, right, when you are in a noisy environment is that like you cannot really see things the way you ought to see them because your mind is muddled. A lot of things are going on at the very same time. But when you are in a quiet environment, when you are in a serene environment, you can actually think clearly. It's like when you fetch water from a well and the well is kind of dirty, but if you should let the water settle, like all the debris in the water to actually settle, then you would be able to find clarity. And that is what you moving to a quiet environment actually does to you. And another thing that like another beauty about moving to a serene environment is that like the journey, right? While you're on the road, while you are going there, it actually helps to relax the mind and ideas can actually start flowing. Right. I think, yeah, that actually happens to me. There's a place I go to, I think twice or three times every year and I stay there for a night or two, just for me to be able to like have this calmness, right? And then I can ask questions. I can ask myself like certain questions that like, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing at the moment? Is there anything I need to think about? Is there any new idea I'm trying to like seek? All right. And when I do that, it helps me to be able to come back fresh and have a better idea. There are a lot of things that comes with you changing environment, right? Finding a new place, change environment, and especially when you are one with nature, it helps you to like bring out that juice, the idea, the creative juice, the idea juice out of you. Now, the next point I have here is have a book, you write your ideas right now. By the time the ideas start coming in, you just don't want to think about them. You want to write them out. You need to have a journal where you write all the ideas that actually come into your head and then you start listing them out one after the other. Now, what aspects of business or what aspects of life should you really, really consider, right? If you're trying to look for the next big idea, have like 4 points still based on this point that like I'm talking about. The first part I said is that, like be on the lookout for needs. All right. There would always be needs that people have. You could actually start from your own needs. Now, when your mind is clear, right, you could start by writing like, what are the things that like I have difficulty with? What are the things that like I am not comfortable with, and I would want a change to happen in this thing. And by the time you start listing them out, right, you'll realize that like, hey, if this is a problem, and then probably like, you're able to call one or two other people or like ask a lot of people, and then you realize that like this is the same problem a lot of people are actually going through, but maybe nobody's really looking at it or they are not really talking about it well enough, then you could find a way to find a solution to that problem. And that would be your next big thing. So you start from yourself and then ask yourself that, like, okay, what are the things that like I am uncomfortable about? After you're done with that, you could probably like then look around, pay attention to details, pay attention to the things you see in the society, the complaints people have probably made over time to you. They've said that like, how I wish I could actually get this thing done faster. How I wish this could actually be this. How I wish that could be that. And then start writing it out. And if you see a pattern, you see a trend, then you are actually on to something. You are seeing your next big idea right in front of you. All right. So that's the next point. Then the very next thing I said is that, like, think of how you can appeal to the human desire for connectivity and belonging. Now, everybody wants to belong in the society. Everybody wants to connect with other people. That is why Facebook is one of the applications that like helps, or sorry, that's boomed, right? Because it helps to connect people who have probably have lost touch with themselves over the years and tries to keep them updated as to what's happening in the lives of other people, because people actually love it. They want to see what's happening in that person's life. They want to know what's happening in this person's life. And they also want people to know what is happening in their life. If you could actually think of something that actually helps humans to connect with other people, can help to what's the other word? The desire to connect and to belong. All right. If you can create a platform, an idea, a business idea based on that, then I'm sure that like your business is going to boom. Another example is all these dating apps, right? If you realize a lot of the dating apps are trying to like connect two single people together, and hopefully they make something out of it, right? That is why that particular app or those apps would always sell. Another thing you could actually consider is think on how to improve an already existing industry. Now, there are a lot of industries out there, right, that are actually doing great. But you could ask yourself that, like, how can I improve on this thing, right? It's innovation. How can I make it better? I know that like this thing has been run this way for a while, but in what way can I add value to the system that would make it stand out? All right. So you don't really have to think of something new. Just look for something that is working and find a way to actually improve on that particular thing that is working at the moment. All right. Times are changing, new technology keeps coming up, and yours could actually be the next big thing that could affect a particular industry that has been for a while, that has not upgraded for a while. All right. And then the last but not least point I have based on this part is look for industries that lack innovation. There are some industries out there that like they need upgrading. I think in Nigeria, in recent years, when the likes of Flutterwave and Paystack came into the country, right, they changed the whole face of banking, right? We know that like banking was done in a particular way in Nigeria before, but when these people brought in a new innovation to an industry that lacks innovation, they were able to like scale up. And right now, these companies actually are worth much more than some of those old companies that have been for decades of years, right? Just because somebody was able to look for an industry that lacks innovation and then brought in new innovation, brought in new technology into that industry and was able to revolutionize how things are done in that industry. All right. So for that, once you start seeing these things, you can actually write those ideas into your book. And then the last but not least point I have, oops, I'm sorry, I just realized that like somebody actually commented. Okay, thank you, Funke, for being a part of the show. That's great. Then the last but not least point that I have is just do it. All right. Work on the idea ASAP, because once the idea comes to you, if you do not work on it, believe me, something else would always take your attention away, and you would realize that like you've been procrastinating for a very long time and you have not done anything about it. I have an idea I'm working on here where I am, right? Actually have a board over there where I write my ideas, and it's something I'm trying to like work on this year that I'm believing that like would be something huge. And I am like I wrote it down, and when I got the idea, I wrote it down and I have begun to work on it, because I realized that like if I say that I should relax, someone somewhere is also thinking about the same idea, and the person also is working on it. So it all boils down to who came out first, who was able to market this idea first, who was able to like push the idea to the market such that you have a larger percentage of the market share in that niche, in that industry. All right, now that brings us to the end of today's teaching. I hope you guys have been able to learn something tangible. And as I always say, please like, subscribe, share this video with your friends and loved ones. If you're watching from Facebook, please share. If you're watching from YouTube, please subscribe and also share with people. Let them get to learn something, because that is basically what this show is about. My name remains Adam Solofemi Olajide, and I would like to thank you all for sticking around to the end of today's show. And as I always say, be the best God has created you to be. And from me to you guys, have a great weekend. Sign out, guys.